Here we go, y'all.
Let's do it.
We're back.
All right.
The Running Raiders. What day is it? It's Thursday.
Yep.
Coy Thomas got his first haircut of his life this morning.
Shout out.
He's looking comfy down here watching
He's having a good
videos.
time.
Yeah.
Moving his feet.
Yeah.
Cooling.
How did he do?
He did well. He did real well. He was
He was enjoying it.
he was a little like he was like moving around a lot, but it was like because he was having fun and he was like messing with me and his mom. It wasn't like he was like scared or anything.
He wasn't like in pain or anything.
No, yeah, no. There's when she didn't do much on the clipper. It was mostly just scissors. Because I guess on their first cuts, a lot of times they don't like the clippers.
Oh, just like the buzz of it.
Just it gets close.
Kind of intimidating.
Exactly, yeah. So when she first, she did like a little edger. It wasn't even a real clipper, but she just did like a beard trimmer thing on the back, and he jumped like for a second, but he was cool.
It was good.
It was good, yeah. Yeah.
I think it's interesting cutting kids because they don't know they don't know that they're supposed to just like sit there and just kind of like take the cut of the like barber etiquette and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's probably you got to really just like figure out how to distract them enough to where you could cut it and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. We were talking to him and asked him questions, but no, he was good. He jerked a couple times, but he didn't get any chunks out of his hair, so we're good to go.
Cool.
Tayo's up next.
I don't know. He's like yesterday we were like at the school or something, and I was like, Coy, you're getting your hair cut tomorrow. And Tayo was like, no, he can't get his hair cut. He was like way more upset. And Coy's like, yeah, Coy's been asking for a haircut for a while because he just it gets in his face and he doesn't like it. Coy's 3, Tayo's 5. You've probably seen him running around the gym a little bit. Yeah. Tayo's hair is really long. He's a kindergartner at Walker, but he's not ready to touch that. He might have his hair forever.
Kids love growing out their hair. Like my cousin, I had a cousin who didn't cut his hair until he was like 5 or 6, and it was just super long.
And he loved it.
He loved it. He was, and they're like, "Don't you think like people are gonna call you a girl or like think you're a girl?" He's like, "No, I love it." He would just like move his hair around and stuff. He seemed like he was a surfer guy.
Yeah,
you know, like the San Diego blonde, like just surfer guy. He loved it.
Yeah, so it was flowing.
Oh, it was flowing.
It just fit them so perfectly, like both of them together, walking around with the long hair. Like
these two.
Yeah, but I like that though. That's a good look.
Yeah, no, it was kind of their thing, and we from the start it was Ashley and I were like, we're gonna let them decide when they get their first haircut. Right. My parents were always like high and tight, you know. They would. My dad wouldn't. It couldn't be past my eyebrows. Like when I was little, I always had like a buzz cut now, but when I was in high school, it couldn't be past my eyebrows or my ears. So I just had these horrible, like, as straight to the eyebrows, as far down to the top of the ears. Because I liked my hair. I wanted longer hair. Right. And so I would always just go as long as he would let me.
So you had the beaver cut before beaver, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I had the beaver cut. Yeah. Like
that was a style. That was a trend. Like when I was younger, the beaver cut, all the kids in elementary school wanted that beaver cut.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Yep. So when I got here, when I went to SOU, I grew it a little bit longer. Like it was like over my ears. It was pretty long. But so it made me, I wanted them to be able to decide when they get their haircut, which he's probably needed to cut for a while, but
yeah. So anyway, you went to SOU?
I went to SOU.
Okay.
Yeah. I graduated I graduated with my degree in 2003. Okay. And then I did the MAT, the Master's in Teaching. Okay. So I got my teaching degree, and that started in 2004. I graduated in December 2003, and then did the Master's 2004 to 2005 1-year program. Okay. But yeah, I went to Lane Community College in Eugene my freshman year, played basketball there. And then my sophomore year, I came down here and was here sophomore through senior. So 3 years of basketball. And then I had a year of eligibility left for football. So I was on the football team.
Oh, your senior year, you played on the football team?
Yeah, my senior year. Yeah. Whoa. So that was 2003. Yeah, I say it every time, but I was mostly watching.
Was Dusty the running back?
Yeah.
2003? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dusty,
McGordy.
He was a dog.
He's a stud. Yeah. Oh, he's a dog. Yeah. Is it? We got sound?
Yes, it's making like a little.
We're starting back from the top. We had a little technical difficulties there. Sound effects, voice effects on. So we're back. Taye Courtney.
What's going on? Man?
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we were talking about Dusty recording when you came here, or when you were going here. Like,
Yeah.
He came and talked to us during fall camp just to tell us his story.
Uh-huh.
And it was very like inspiring, especially for the guys who wanted to play pro ball, because like it's different when someone who went here is telling you about what they did outside of college and going and playing pro.
Mhm.
It really makes you feel like it's super attainable.
Yeah.
And just like it shows also that like his personality was like, it's okay to be very, very good, but also not be like a vocal leader. Because I feel like, I mean, you would know, but he said his leadership was like he was very quiet.
Oh yeah.
And, like he didn't talk too much. He's kind of got the job done.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like you can be that guy and also be humble and like just be a good dude as well.
Absolutely.
So I really enjoyed hearing him talk.
You know, he's a stud. His leadership was give me a crack and I'm gonna run for a lot of yards. You know what I mean? I'm gonna lead by putting my helmet through someone and just running hard every play.
Mm-hmm.
And I played in the Shrine game my senior year.
Okay.
I was 3A when 4A was the biggest in Oregon, you know, and it only went to 4A. So we were 3A and the Shrine game was in Baker. And so we had 1A, 2A, 3A all in the Shrine game over in Baker. And then 4A did like the big one in Portland. I forget where it was.
Was it still the Les Schwab?
It was Les Schwab, yeah.
Something like that? Okay.
Yeah, it was Les Schwab. And it was at the Civic Center, I think is where they played it. I forget. But anyway, so I played in that. And Dusty was from Warrenton, which was a small school on the Oregon coast. I'm from the Oregon coast too. And so I met him over there and his stats, I mean, they had all our stats, you know, in the program or whatever, and he had like 50 touchdowns his senior year or something. It was something ungodly. And he was just like, you know, not that tall, real wide. You wouldn't expect him to be a running back, but he was really fast for his size and just really physical, but really soft spoken. Like he was not like trying to get attention. He was just trying to run hard.
Right.
He was a cool guy. And yeah, I don't know his numbers here, but he's still the leading rusher, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's like, I think he is the leading rusher still. I'd have to check that, but I'm pretty sure he is, yeah.
I think so. He ran for a lot of yards.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, and then he got picked up by the Rams, I think.
Mm-hmm, the Rams.
Is that right? And he was with them. You might know the story better than me. It's been a while. I'm old. Like I said, that was 2003 when I played the 1 year. And he was with them for a few years at least,
he's
right?
Like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, 3 or 4 years. He remembers it down to like the last play. Like he could tell you. I don't remember the situation, but he was like, yeah, it was a so-and-so down. I ran for 7.5 yards, and that was my last run I ever ran in a football game. And I was like, damn. Like, wow. Yeah, like it's tough. It's a tough life in the NFL too. And for someone, you know, to be undrafted and do it for 3-4 years is like pretty impressive as well.
That's really impressive.
Because he was saying like, yeah, he said he watched the draft and then like right after the draft, like minutes after, he got a call from his agent. They're like, all right, listen, you got 3 options. You go to the Rams, the Eagles, like the Bills or something like that. And he was like, all right. And he's like, you get to decide. He was like, oh, I'll go to the Rams. And he's like, bada bing, bada boom. There he is.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
they were in St. Louis at the time, right?
Yeah,
obviously. And what did he, because we talked about this a little bit with Carter the other day, what the practice squad's like and being a free agent signee. So I want to hear a little bit like your perspective, what he said. What was that like for him, you know, being on the practice squad? And
from what I picked up, he said it was just a grind every day. Like you never really know when your time is coming. And like he was just saying that you got to take advantage of every opportunity, like, and make sure you're taking care of yourself, and you got to work harder than everybody. Like that's really just what it takes. And when you talk to a lot of like, where you hear a lot of practice squad guys talk, and, you know, like they, especially now with all these podcasts and whatnot, like that's the general consensus is like the NFL is a game where you can lose your spot at any moment. So you never know what's coming, but you don't want it to be your deeds that make that thing happen, you know, that take you out of the game or whatnot. Right. And so unfortunately, I think for him it was like injuries and whatnot that took him out of the game, not even his own doing or a lack of effort he put in. And I think that's the name of the game. Like that's, if you're going to go any way, that's got to be the way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So
he used to go hard. I mean, he was in the weight room all the time, training all the time. It was football, hunting, and probably just enough class to get by.
Right.
I mean, I think he did what he needed to do. I don't think he loved school. I think he liked football and hunting mostly.
Right.
Well, and Griff before him, Griff Yates, who's Gunner's his son.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Gunner
crazy.
Yates.
Wait, what did you say? Gunner Yates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Griff was from Caughell, which was in my league when I was in high school. He was older than me a little bit, but he was really good in high school. And then he set all the records down here, rushing records. And then he got picked up by the 49ers, I believe. I don't know if you know his story at all, but
I'm not too familiar with Greg.
He was practice squad with the 49ers, and he played in the preseason game, and he was on kick coverage. And I think he broke his arm like on the first kick coverage of the preseason. Jeez. And that was the end of his career. You know, it's like
it's fragile, man. That is crazy.
Yeah. Put all that time in through college, and especially when you're a small college guy, you get your one chance, and it's pretty ruthless. Yeah. Like he was, you know, ready to go. I'd put all that time in, and then his body just broke, and that was it.
Yeah, it's like when I hear that story, like those type of stories, I just think about the after, like because in this, like as a athlete, like this is like your identity, like this is what you put forth every single day, all day. Like when people know you, they're like, "Oh, Taye, the football player," or, you know, like the basketball player or whatnot. And so, like when it just gets stripped from you like that, it's like now you're in the world. Like now you got to figure out what your identity is outside of that. Like, and that can be hard for most people. Like. So I hear stuff like that. Like I think about it a lot. That's a really hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, that's a great point you brought up. Even I'm just relating to that from just being a college athlete, and then I didn't go play pro. But once you're done, you know, once I was done, it was kind of like, well, who am I now? Right. You know, all I ever wanted to do was play sports and, you know, try and win a national championship. I wanted a national championship real bad, and a state championship. Never got it. But then once it was done, it was like, what do I do now? And I kind of just followed what my family had done, mostly my parents and my older sister, and got into education. But even after I got my degree, I wasn't fulfilled, you know, like right off the bat too, because there wasn't the same like excitement that you get from playing sports. So I started traveling. I moved to Korea and taught English right after I got my master's degree here.
Wow.
And just kind of went off on my own and did a lot of searching and soul searching. And so I can just relate to that, because it's kind of like, well, what do I even like? You know? Like, I don't even know what I like besides trying to play. So that's a really good point.
That's interesting. That's something I want to do. Like, not necessarily go to Korea and teach English, but I want to, like, you know, once I'm done with this life, like this football life, I want to go travel. Like, I want to go see other things. You know what I mean? Like no one in my family really has been outside the country, even off like mainland. Like no one's ever been to like Hawaii or Alaska or anything like that. Wow. So I definitely want to go travel, like, and just see things. And like I want to be honest, I want to learn a different language, because I feel like the biggest motivation for me is, so I work at Home Depot, and there's a lot of like carpenters or just like contractors from Mexico, and they don't speak very good English. And a lot of people have this connotation that like, if someone doesn't speak English, that they're like dumb, or that like they're just like hard to deal with, or just like, you know, it's a challenge, where it's like, yes, it is a challenge, but it's like, it doesn't make them any less than you just because you don't speak English, or you just, you know, they're not like a part of your culture or whatnot. So I want to go see other cultures, so then I can be the odd one out.
Yeah.
Like I can feel what it's like to not be in that culture and to not speak the language. So then I can, like, you know, sympathize with these people a little bit more. And like, and then if I'm in a situation where someone doesn't speak English and I speak the language that they speak, then I can help them out. But like, that's really a thing I want to do. So it's cool that you brought that up.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
And that was very valuable for me too. Korea is very homogenous. You know, I was in Seoul, which is a huge city. So there was, you know, there's a neighborhood that's like all the expats, people from other countries that just kind of live there. And then like, you know, some international businessmen. But for the most part, Korea is all Koreans. You know, where the U.S. is a really international city, and there's a lot of European cities that are really international, where you can find all cultures there. But Korea was really homogenous, so I really stood out, and you kind of get that feeling of what it's like to be an outsider that I'd never had before, and it was really good for me, and sometimes hard, but for me more interesting, you know, because I a lot of times I feel like a loner anyway. I kind of feel like an outsider. So it doesn't really bother me, but for some people it is really hard too.
Yeah.
But that's awesome that you want to do that. And also like what you're talking about with speaking the second language, like the fact that they're in another country, living, working, don't even speak the language. Like, from my perspective, it's like, wow, they got something, right?
Mhm.
They're smart, they're brave, they're working really hard to make a life for themselves and probably for their families. So I admire people that are going through that.
Oh yeah, no, it got to be a difficult thing to go through, especially if like what it took to even get here. Like, I have a friend, my best friend Frankie from back home. His mom is from Guatemala, and she would tell us stories about like her coming over here and just like the amount of hardships it took, like like going through the desert and having to travel not only like across one border but two borders, from Guatemala to Mexico and Mexico to, I'm not exactly sure which state she came in through, but it's like that's, it's got to be so bad for you where you're at to have to go through all that to find a better life.
Yeah.
And then to like come here and then have people just treat you as if you're just like a second-class citizen, or that like don't even take that into account.
Right.
Like, you just want to feed for your family. Like, you want to come here and like make money and send it back to, help them out. Like, that takes a lot of guts and just, again, like a lot of something. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a lot of something that you got to take into account when you're talking to these people. So yeah, like, it's cool.
And how did she make the trip? Did she come like with family or solo?
Yeah, because she was 12. So she came like with her family. I think she came with her mom and dad, or maybe just her mom, and was in California. And then eventually she worked her way up to Oregon and had Frankie and his brothers and whatnot. But yeah, like, she was just talking about how it was just cold at night, and like you can only carry so much water and you can only carry so much food because you're mobile. So you can't have like, you don't have like a backpack with the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She just was describing it just hard, like, especially as a 12-year-old, because you don't really know like a ton of what's going on. You just are just with it. Like, you just kind of with the thing, and all you want to do is play and just be a kid. But like, I think in that moment right there, like, a lot of your childhood kind of gets stripped from you. You got to go up real quick.
Yeah.
To be in that situation. Like,
so were they mostly by foot then?
Mm-hmm.
They were like walking the whole way.
Yeah, I think there's like I think going through Mexico, like, they were staying in different places and like taking trucks and buses or whatnot. But like that final stretch, you can't really like get in a truck and just drive across the border. You know what I mean? Like, unless you really have citizenship. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that part was the hardest part, and like, just not getting caught and the fear of getting caught as well. And also, like, you have to hire somebody to take you through as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a lot of people, like, I think they call them coyotes.
Yeah.
They take them over with them. And it's like those people are giving their entire like family fortune to get across to those coyotes. And so I think like it's like a lot of the times it's like a one payment thing. Like, you pay them and that's all your money. If you don't get across, you get caught and you got to come back. Now you got to work for X amount of years to make that money up to just do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And like eventually have a chance. It's pretty crazy.
That's wild. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some videos on those, and it can be dangerous too, right? And there's a lot of con men out there too that might not even be trying to get you across the border. So you better have at least word of mouth recommendation on how you're getting here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's crazy that they got to worry about stuff like that, and as Americans, we worry about the dumbest stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're worrying about the 49ers this weekend.
Right.
I mean? This is real life.
Yeah.
So it's just puts it in perspective, like you said, about Americans being so like centric in their views,
Mm-hmm.
and us thinking we're so like much better than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's good to travel, to understand that the world is so big.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's more than just the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That used to really like, I don't know if affect me is the word, but like that used to really make me think when I was a kid. Like, I vividly remember being like 12 or 13 when I realized I was like, I just was so lucky to just be born like in America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just like won the lottery. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, I remember just like sitting in the classroom and I just like absorbed my thoughts. I was like, wow, this is like dope. Like, I can eat, like, I can have the opportunity to be whatever I want when I grow up. Like, there's not people hurting my family. Like, it was just like, wow, like you see it a lot in school. And I just remember just being extremely grateful for it, for sure.
Well, and I mean, that's another thing that travel is good for, is like making you appreciate what you do have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because not every country does everything the same, obviously. And there's some pros and cons with everywhere you go. But for the most part, I think you come back being even more appreciative for what you have. And what you had before, and also appreciating what another country does or might do differently.
Yeah. Have you ever been to another country?
Yeah, I've been to China.
Ooh.
I've been to Mexico. Been to
Jamaica.
Jamaica's, yeah.
Yeah,
For
they're
some
their own
reason I was
country.
gonna say
Yeah.
their own territory or something. But yeah, I've been to Jamaica. So I've been around a little bit, but yeah, for the most part, I think you just really appreciate how great America is. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of wrong and problems that America has and needs to address, but for the most part, I mean, like you said, we're pretty fortunate to be able to be from here and to call it home. I say
Right. What's China like?
it's different.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's different. I mean, I recommend it if you ever get the chance to explore. I was there too long. I think I was there for 6 months.
Whoa.
So I mean, it was a little taxing towards the middle of it, and I mean, the language barrier there is pretty insane. And I wasn't around a whole lot of people who spoke English, so I definitely felt like a loner at times too. But I mean, it's just incredible when you put it into perspective because, like you said, like you were talking about earlier, like the roles sort of get reversed, and you're a minority in a country with billions of people, you know, and everything is so congested and life moves so fast, and you know, it's really cool.
What were you there for? Did you just kind of like ship out, or how'd that work?
No, I was coaching basketball. That was one of my first coaching jobs. I was coaching at like youth camps, and I was also assistant / like consultant for a women's national team there. Because the way they do sports there is a lot differently than the way our sports system, so to speak, is in America. Like they just take kids out of school when they're super young, and they go to these like sports academies for different sports, whether it's soccer, basketball, swimming, ping pong, you know, whatever it is. And they just stay there pretty much year round. And, you know, they go to school a little bit, but for the most part, like they're working at their craft of these sports. And then if they're good enough to make an Olympic team, they make an Olympic team. But if not, then these academies will pay for them to go to college.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like you sacrifice all this time, and pretty much from like, I don't know exactly what age, it's super young though, at least like 10 or so, maybe younger, and then all the way through high school, pretty much they just work at sports and travel and try to make a national team. But if not, they get their college paid for.
Whoa! Imagine if we had something like that here. That would be so dope.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty taxing. I think 10 years old to leave your family.
That too, yeah. Oh yeah, they don't get to see them at all, huh? It's not like they just drop them off at daycare every day.
No, like they stay there. Like,
oh, okay, that's actually.
They rarely get to see their families. Like, I'm sure that most of them would maybe want to be around their families more.
Yeah, for sure.
But like you said about having choices, like a lot of times in countries like that, like you sort of have to make a choice earlier in life as opposed to being able to figure stuff out along the way. You know what I mean? Like they would probably decided when their parents probably decided for them, like, hey, you're going to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
You're going to be a mathematician. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of just like cut and dry and not a whole lot of leeway.
I've seen that a lot. Like growing up in the sports world, you kind of have those teammates where you can tell that their parents are like living through them. You know what I mean? Like they, whatever dreams they weren't able to attain or whatever dreams they feel like they can attain through them, like they push them to their limit.
Yeah.
Like, I remember having like a wrestling teammate that like his dad, he was like one of my youth football coaches, and his dad, like from a young age, had him staying like behind late after every practice, had him in all these different sports, and was pushed him to his limit, and he could only eat certain things. And I was like, I remember just being 10, like he's cool, like he's very, very good, but it's like I don't know if that's the life I want to live. Like, and then it really affected him when we were like in high school, and he was a freshman, and I was a sophomore, and he was good at wrestling, and he was just like, I'm done, like I can't do this anymore. He just burnt out. Because he'd been at all these different tournaments year round and was like missing school to go to these different tournaments and to travel and to do it for the sport. And like eventually at one point, like I envied him for a bit, and then and then he was explaining to me, he's like, yeah, I don't want to do it. Like my family's gonna burn me out from it. It felt like that's all I was good for to them.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, like
Well, and that's sort of what I
cutting
picked
weight.
up from the kids that I was around, because they just seemed burnt out. Like the passion for it was one of the biggest differences between kids I see over here and over there, because that's all they do pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And over here, it's like, it's just way more balanced. And from a parent's perspective over there, at least in China, like I'd say 90% of the families over there only have one kid. So like they put so much into that one kid, just because of overpopulation. Like you have to pay like a crazy amount of money to be able to have more than one kid. So they just, rightfully so. I mean, not that parents stateside don't care about their kids, but like I think it's another level over there. You know what I mean?
Man, that's tough.
Yeah. They have since changed the rule of the one-child policy because their country's in really bad shape, because it's getting older and there's not enough young people like to pay.
Well, you still have to pay like a crazy amount of money to have more than one kid. Like you can, like it used to be like you just couldn't, no matter what, like no matter how much money you had, like you couldn't. But now you have to pay. I don't know the exact number, but it's pretty expensive.
What happens if you have a kid on accident? Like
abortion or something? Like yeah,
I think so.
They're pretty ruthless as a country. I mean,
there's a lot of horror stories too, though, where because boys were more desirable than girls too, so parents would like have a girl and just like that baby would disappear, and no one, like they'd basically get rid of their kid because they wanted to, like lots of crazy stories like that.
See, that part has got to be tough, because that like parental instinct in you is that's got to be irking. Like when that stuff happens, like
it has to.
You can imagine, like you just have your kid and then it's like, oh, one too many, like, and you just like, wow, like, what do we do? Do we flee? Do we leave? Like, do we leave? Do we?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we make up the money to pay for it? Like, what do we like? What happens? It's just like, like the only option, give me the kid. Like, that's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine much worse.
Yeah, not a lot of worse things. But you said you went to Mexico. Did you coach basketball in Mexico as well? Or?
No, I just traveled there.
Okay.
Yeah, with the family for like a week or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely want to do some stuff like that. Seems really cool.
Mexico's kind of, football's growing in Mexico too, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a coach at Siskiyous that coached football in Mexico and like was part of a Mexican football team there, and seems to be growing a lot. Like I think I also at College of Siskiyous, I had some Australian teammates, and they were a part of like internationally in football, like the national teams are a little bit bigger than like in the US. So they were on the Australian national like American football team. And they played a tournament in Mexico, and like I'm pretty sure Mexico and Canada were like in the final of the tournament.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, Mexico was pretty good. Like, and I was like, oh, like, and they beat like the US national team that they had. And stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah, the US national team like lost to Canada and Mexico in that tournament. And I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like it's growing in different places, and I think, yeah, I'd always thought of Mexico as like a soccer and baseball country, but I mean, yeah, I think it's growing over there. I think it's hard, a little bit harder to go the sport internationally. I feel like because it just requires so much. Like with football, like you can do like 7-on-7 or like 2-hand touch or whatnot, but like to have like real football, you need like like helmets and a good field and shoulder pads and all this other stuff that just requires money and just resources.
The insurance liability,
all that stuff.
I mean, there's a lot of colleges that have lost football just because of the costs.
Well, and I was going to say, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think that another reason why it's so much more popular stateside as opposed to around the world is because of the violence that comes with it. Not a lot of cultures and countries love violence the way Americans do. Like boxing and like MMA like wouldn't be nearly as popular worldwide as it is here. And obviously football is a very violent game, especially at the NFL level. So I think that sort of scares some crowd away, so to speak. But
there's certain countries, like there's some like countries that produce tons of fighters,
right. But I just mean
Russian
like,
fighters.
It's not nearly as popular there as it is here. You know what I mean?
That's for sure.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you look at the UFC, like most of the champions, a lot of the champions are like the Americans are like the minority for most weight classes. Like Mexico has a champion. There's 2 Nigerian champions, was. Leon Edwards is from England, but he just beat Kamaru Usman, who's of Nigerian descent. And like you look at it like Francis Ngannou, Africa, like 205, Poland, like these guys are all international. I think part of the reason it grew so much stateside is because of the violence, but like these other countries that have adopted the way of life and all their different respects of like jujitsu or taekwondo, or I feel like for them they really view it as like an art. Like to them it's a discipline.
Mhm.
Right.
Like jujitsu is a discipline, like, and like, or boxing, like,
Yeah.
even though that's a little bit more, I guess, barbaric, like it's still a discipline. Like it kind of brings that same like flavor to it, which I really enjoy.
Well, and some of those are like
Yeah.
Olympic sports too, so like the whole world can kind of watch and appreciate and gather. So that I think that's a part of it too.
Right.
You know?
Is jiu-jitsu Brazilian, or are they just really good at it?
There's jiu-jitsu that originated, I believe, in Japan,
Hmm.
and then there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is like a different style, but still jiu-jitsu in its origin, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's dope. I don't do jiu-jitsu, but I enjoy like watching it and, you know, watching these fighters that do it and whatnot, and it's very dope, and it's grown a lot. I feel like you have like the Gracie family, which is
Mhm.
the family that origined of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like those guys are some disciplined human beings. Like you hear them talk or hear their like routines of their way of life and whatnot, it's like, oh, like it's all discipline.
Mhm.
Like it's really dope. But yeah, I think it's originally of like Japanese descent.
Do you do any sort of fighting or?
No, I wrestled a lot in high school,
Uh-huh.
and I wrestled in middle school a little bit as well. But I've always just been like a fighting fan, like
Mhm.
just a huge fighting fan, and I really enjoy that way of life. Like, I don't know. I guess I enjoy the not violence, but I'm for a lot of sports I enjoy just like rough sports, like
Mhm.
rugby, wrestling, and football. That's kind of my trio in high school. I just enjoy like the competitive nature of just putting your body on the line.
Yeah.
I think it's really awesome to see.
Can you talk about your high school experience and your upbringing? I don't really.
Yeah,
know, that's why I'm asking.
So I went to Sunset High School, Portland, Oregon.
Okay, you're Portland.
Yeah, and I played a bunch of different sports in high school and middle school. Like I played football all through middle school, but then right when I turned to a freshman, I actually tried to quit the football team to try out for the soccer team.
Okay.
And I did not make the soccer team because I hadn't played soccer.
Yeah.
And then I went back to playing football, and then I tried out for the baseball team. Got cut from the baseball team. Did track that freshman year.
Okay.
And then I got tired of tracks. Then I was football, wrestling for 2 years, my sophomore, junior year, and then my senior year I picked up rugby, so it was football, wrestling, rugby. And yeah, I went to a solid high school football program. We were like a winning program. And I was about like the second best person on the team.
Okay.
Like third best person on the team. And then after that, I didn't necessarily have the GPA to go play at like a Portland State or Western Oregon. I visited those schools, but they were like, in order for us to offer you, you have to have the grades to get in. So I was kind of left with either going to PCC for free and just quitting football, or I got like a spam email from College of the Siskiyous, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go the JUCO route. I didn't really know too much about it. I just had watched like Last Chance U, and that's when it was just EMCC, and like all they talked about was just how hard it was. And I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I want to do that. But I had like a moment where I was like walking into school, and my head coach, like I ran into him. He was like, so like how'd the Western Oregon visit go? And I was like, I didn't like it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to go there anyways. Like I think I might just go to like PCC. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like I think I might be done with football. And he's like, I don't think that's the best thing for you. And I was like, well, I want to do what I want to do. I was very hard-headed. Mm-hmm. And then I was just in class that first period, and I get a note from him, from like the hall pass or like the hall monitors or whatever. It gave me a note. It said, come into my office, like you're excused from class. And so I like went to his class and basically just had like a heart-to-heart conversation with him. And just, I think in that moment I realized I was not ready to give up football, because he was like, what else are you going to do? And I was a pretty troublesome kid in high school. Like I wasn't very disciplined. I worked hard at sports, but I never viewed school as something I should work hard at. You know, I had like a 1.8 GPA going into my senior year, and I just, I like to party. I like to party and to just like do just extracurricular things. And so in that moment, I kind of realized like, oh wow, like all this stuff really caught up to me. So I was like, I don't want to go down a wrong route because I feel like being home and just being around all that stuff would just not be good. So when I stepped out of that office, I was like walking in my car. I kind of just texted the words like, I'm going to commit to college at Siskiyous to the head coach at Siskiyous. I was like, well, I said it, so I got to go.
Yeah.
And so then I like went and visited it. I liked it. And the rest is history. I went there for 2 years, 2019 to 2021 through COVID and everything. So I had my freshman season. We went 0-10. That was pretty difficult. And then I started as a true freshman, 8 games, defensive end and D tackle. And then my sophomore year was 2020 so that fall we had our fall season canceled, and then we got a 4-game season that following spring in 2021. So I played that fall or that spring and got a lot of film from those 4 games, and as well as the season that I played before. So I kind of got out of there with like 12 or 13 offers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And at Siskiyous, I really found that like school is like really very, very important. So I had good grades. I had like a 3.2, which is better than a 1.8 for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
So and took visits to Upper Iowa University, Olivet Nazarene University, Quincy University.
So mostly like NAIA D2s.
Yeah, like NAIA D2s. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 D2 offers, and then the rest of them are NAIA. And I don't know. I didn't want to play football like across the country.
Right.
Like, I just didn't want to play like in the Midwest. I didn't enjoy it too much, and my mom seeing me play was extremely important. So I was looking at SOU, and that was the first visit I took. I don't know if you met Coach Malott. He was the offensive line coach here. And he was my offensive line coach at Siskiyous.
Okay.
And so, like, right after my sophomore season, he, like, came here. And he had played at SOU and whatnot. He's very SOU bred. He was very, like, I at least want to get you an offer here. Like, I at least just want to, like, see if you would like it. So I took my visit here, and I really enjoyed it. And I have a couple of teammates from my high school that go here. Marve Nyambo, Gustavo Mendez, and Ike Naguamo.
Okay.
They all went to Sunset, and so I knew them well. And Ike and Marve were already going here. So, like, I was able to, kind of gauge the life as well with them, and I really enjoyed it, so I committed here. So I got here in July of 2021.
Quick side question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you call Sunset, or, like, obviously that's, like, the Beaverton area. Do you qualify that as Portland, or is that Beaverton?
See, here's the thing, right? It's like this limbo of, like, this Beaverton and Portland thing. Like, the school itself, Sunset, is addressed as Portland. But like it's literally like on the most border of Beaverton and Portland. Yeah. So like most of the people who go to Sunset, their addresses are Beaverton. But when I was living there, like I was living in the Portland area. Okay. And then like midway through high school, I moved closer to Beaverton just because it was less of a commute. But yeah, like when I was looking at where I wanted to go to high school, like I could have went to Lincoln as well. But I had like grandparents that went to Sunset. And they're like, well, like, you want to play football? I don't know if Lincoln is, like, the best place for you to go. Like, I think you should go to Sunset. They enjoy football a lot more. So I was like, I'll go to Sunset.
I guess because I went to high school in Oregon, too. Mm-hmm. So, like, I always thought of, like, Portland schools as strictly, like, PIL schools. Mm-hmm. And then, like, there's obviously all those, like, surrounding areas. Like, the Three Rivers League, like, Westland, like Oswego, and then you guys are in the Metro, right?
Yeah, the Metro League.
So, like, the Jesuits, the Mountainside, Beaverton, Southridge, Sunset, all that, so.
Yeah. No, you could definitely call it, like, whatever. Like, you call it Beaverton.
No, I just joke, because people, like,
if
Khalil was right here, or Nemo, they'd probably be like, oh, hell no, that's not Portland, that's Beaverton. I just think it's funny how people get, like.
Crazy gatekeeping. There's crazy gatekeeping over the city of Portland. And it's like, I feel like where a lot of people were like, if they're from, I don't know, like a Tigard or something, they're like, oh, I went to Tigard. For someone who's not from Oregon, they're like, where's that? I don't think they like to deal with that question.
Right.
Like, where's that question? Because then you got to be like, well, it's right next to Portland, like, da-da-da-da.
Right.
People just want to cut that out. But no, I definitely, you experience that a lot, like, especially being from Sunset. Like, oh, really? Are you from Beaverton or are you from Portland? It's like, dog, I'm just.
I was just giving you crap.
No, of course.
I just think it's funny. Like you said, people really do get sensitive over, like, are you actually from Portland? Or are you, like, trying to group it all together? So I just think it's funny that.
People also don't realize that, like, with Portland, right, the east side is enormous. Like, the east side is huge. On the west side, Portland goes for, like, 3 or 4 miles. Yeah. Like, on the east side, it goes for, like, another, like, 15 miles.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so, like, when you look at it on a map, it's like the river, that the Willamette that divides it, and then all of the east side, which is this enormous area, and, like, the west side is, like, this little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, yeah, you could definitely get lost in translation there.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
And it's like that everywhere I've been to with the city thing.
Yeah.
Like, because my wife's from Illinois, so we lived in central Illinois for a while. But you can't claim Chicago unless you're from Chicago.
Right.
Like if someone says they're from Chicago and they're a suburb, then they're going to get ridiculed. Same thing with Seattle. If you're claiming Seattle and you're a suburb, like it's just not going to work.
Seattle, Tacoma. Like people I feel like a lot of people from Seattle try to claim Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, Tacoma's like the little brother too.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people that I know are like, Seattle's way better than Tacoma. Like,
like
talking
as
about
a city?
like sports too. Like, the Seattle players are way better than the Tacoma players.
Really? I feel like Tacoma's produced a lot.
No, I'm saying if you're from Seattle, that's what you say.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like it's like no, you guys we're way better than you guys. But Tacoma's produced a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like strangely enough, some people from Seattle like try to claim Tacoma to like help strengthen them or make them seem tougher.
I can see that.
I feel like maybe it was Isaiah Thomas or somebody who like claims he's from Tacoma, but he's really like from Seattle, I think.
Well, he grew up in Tacoma.
Oh, he is from
Tacoma.
He
grew up in Tacoma.
Maybe it was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know.
I feel like with the city thing, like, I feel like a lot of people just want to, like, claim where, like, it's, like, I don't know, most dangerous, but just, like, where you seem like you got it out the mud more. Like,
100%.
A lot of people don't, like, they're like, oh, like, I had it worse, or it's like a struggle contest.
That's for sure, yeah.
I feel like that's a huge thing, where it's like, to me, personally, like, I feel like if you grow up in a very hard, tough place, you have more motivation to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, if you grew up in a, like, extreme suburb where you have everything given to you, this whole, like, life, for you to, like, push yourself to be better than that is, like, I feel like it's just as hard. Like, I feel like you have a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more resources, but it's so much easier. Like, for me personally, like, I look at the Sunset area, bro, there's some hills in there where you got some people with money.
Oh, yeah.
Real money. Like,
yeah.
And I remember seeing that, and, like, not a lot of people go there and then, like, play sports in college outside of high school just because that's not, like, the thing. Like, there's, like, I always want to work in an office and, like, make the money like my parents.
Right.
And so, like, there's a lot of people that just are just satisfied with that. Like, I feel like if you have the urge to be like, no, this is what I want to do. Like, I may have this affluent lifestyle or whatnot, but no, I actually want to push myself and change the family dynamic of what I got going on. Like, I feel like that's pretty dope too. Like, I feel like you don't have to feel ashamed about it as well. Like, you don't have to feel ashamed for, like, having money or, like, having cool things. Like, man, like, you ask people who live in the hood, they don't want to live there. Like, it's not like I enjoy it here. Like, I love it here. Some people do just because that's all they know. But it's like, if they have the opportunity to switch lives with you, they do it on a heartbeat.
Right.
So it's like, there's no point in being like, oh, I'm from this place, like, because it seems like the harder place. Like, those people who live there would not appreciate that very much. Like, no, like, I would love to live where you live.
Right.
It's a cool thing. So
that's a great point. Yeah, that's so true. People want to claim it's hard, but if you give them the option, most people are going to take more stuff and yeah, myself included. If someone's like, hey, you can have your life or you can have like a bigger house and more cars and more money and more travel.
That sounds pretty nice.
Take that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, if you ask people who are claiming a certain city, like, okay, do you want to live where you live in that, or do you want to live in, like, the hardest part of that city? You're like, I think I'm cooling where I'm at right now. Like,
right.
It'd be great.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
So I know we were talking for a second about Siskiyou and just your path here. and you said you had some other options, so this wasn't like your only option necessarily.
Mhm.
What do you think for you put Southern over the top, and what was attractive about it? What did you like about it? What's been positive for you so far? You know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing that drew me here was just like my number one thing was my mom getting to see me play, because like I do everything for my mom. Like she's a superstar, because it was just me and her. Like I didn't have any like siblings. I didn't have like another father figure or whatnot, and so like she poured everything she had into me playing ball. So like for her to like have to fly to like Iowa or Minnesota or like Illinois to see me play would have been a lot. She'd only be able to make like 1 game a season or like 2 games a season. Those flights aren't cheap.
Yeah.
And then I also I want to be able to see her a lot through the year or whatnot. And so that was a little difficult. But the thing that set SOU apart was just like, I thought it was beautiful. Like when I came here, I thought it was extravagant, because we were down in Weed, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like I don't want to go somewhere too close because I feel like I never left, and like I want to make it out. And so then I like drove up here for a visit anyways. I come over here and people are walking dogs and everyone's saying hi to each other, and there was a little bit of like snow on the mountain, but it was sunny out, and it just seemed lively, like it seemed nice, and I really enjoyed that. Like I was like, this is actually, it's a whole different life. It's a whole different thing than where I was at. Like I was like, I enjoy that too, and just the whole like winning culture, like this place has history. Like it has a rich history, and people care about the history as well. And the coaches, cared. Like like my coaches, they definitely care. And my current D-line coach, like Coach Kern, like he's a product of like SOU football. Like he's a big symbol of like how you can be as a man if you really take this seriously. Because like when I got here, we had another D-line coach, Coach Sander. Love him as well. Great, amazing coach. And Kern was a senior. Like he was a 6-year senior when I was here my sophomore year. And that next year he wanted to coach, and he was just an assistant coach. Well, when Coach Sander left, like they gave him the opportunity to just have the position coaching job, like as a whole. And like when you were just a player and now you got to coach the guys you was just playing with, like that can be a slippery slope. They can go one or two ways.
Yeah.
Like, you can eat that up, or you can fold and just be like the easy, like kind of like pushover. And the way he carries himself as a leader and he carries himself as a man, like, is enormous, and just shows like the discipline that this place can give you. And so like none of us looked at him as some guy we could push over or whatnot. Like no, like it's like, oh, it's Coach Kern now. Like it's no player Kern. Like he's a dog. And so like for me, I feel like if all these other players that come out of here are real men and are good people and are superstars and whatever they're doing, whether it's their job or being great dads or whatnot, like that's what I wanted to do. And I just that's my goals in life. So I feel like this place was going to help me do it, and that's why I picked it up. I love it here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great, natural fit.
Yeah,
and it's like you said, there's a lot of proud football alumni, and it's a good network to be a part of. My best man in my wedding played tight end here. We grew up together in Reedsport, and so I know a lot of and I played for a year or two, but I know a lot of the football guys, and they always stay connected, and if we can just take that next little step forward to go, have a nice winning season next year, people are going to be coming out of the woodwork, like they're ready for it.
I think we will, man. Like I enjoy Coach Brown a lot, and I enjoy his philosophy. And just when I seen him, when we had our council and we were trying to decipher, which coaches we wanted to bring in a lot, he stood out to me a ton. Like, and he's SOU bred, like he's an SOU guy, and the guys he wants to bring in are SOU guys, and they know what it takes to win here. Like, it's interesting, when you see people who have won in their respective divisions or places in the country, but with people who know how to win here at SOU in this conference, like that was huge for me. And I enjoy what he's going to be bringing. So I think we're going to be all right, man. Like I think we're going to have a winning season and, have winning players and people with a winning mindset. And, but that's months away. We got to win today. We got to win tomorrow, and, in workouts and the way we carry ourselves in the classroom and whatnot. Like, I feel like we emphasize those things, which he is, like, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
This will be a place to be for sure.
Can you talk a little more about your first impressions of Coach Brown and expand a little more on his philosophy and what you're buying into?
Man, well, my first impression of him was dope because he came in wearing the Chicago 1 lows, and hard. Those are hard. Those are icy. I was like, he wore the full like suit with the red tie and the ones. I was like, all right, yeah, let me get to know you real quick. And man, like he's just a good guy. He came from Crater, and he had coached here in 2014. From 2010 to 2016, he coached at SOU, and he's also played at SOU. And what stuck out to me is his we philosophy. Like everything is about us. It's about we. It's about the players being together and everything we do. Like having a culture first, and then like using that to win ball games and using that to be on the same page when things aren't going right. When we are winning, to maintain it. Like just everything he had to say. And he's also knowledgeable as well. Like knowledgeable in like the academics of things and those systems, and also just like our health as well. He's very knowledgeable about our bodies and what it's going to take to recover and to have good lifts and to have great workouts that are going to supplement us. Because I feel like in this day and age, we're kind of moving from the old school, like run it till you puke and like lift it till your legs don't work type of thing. And where it's like, no, we're going to work on hypertrophy at this phase. And then now we're going to do, build into strength training in this phase. And now we're going to go from, building from running 20 yards to being able to sprint 40 yards to being able to sprint 100 yards and then work until you can sprint a whole football game. Like that's kind of where we're moving now. And I think he's on board with that, like he's knowledgeable about that. And me as like an exercise science guy, I really appreciate that as well, because these are guys I can learn from too when I want to go out of college and do my thing. Like, and so I think that was a huge thing. And I think that resonated with a lot of guys as well, because I think that's what's kind of setting teams apart now is teams that are preparing the best and preparing, that are moving with the game, that are moving with, how things are changing, like they're running offenses and defenses that are going to stop today's offensive defenses that are not, that are working. So I like that a lot from them. Sure.
Yeah, the science part of it that's really interesting, because it's pretty clear that you going to fatigue is not beneficial for you, and that's across the board. Like you're saying, lift until you can't move or run until you puke. The amount of recovery time it takes to get back to where you can get a good lift again, you're just losing so much time and that you could be lifting. And it's the same way in basketball. Like even the analytics side of it, in basketball, the percentages of each shot on the court and all those different things, and the best coaches are evolving with the times and using that science and data and making their teams better. So that's cool. And he's a D lineman, right?
Yeah, he was a D lineman, and I think he wants to help out with the D line and think about it a lot. Which is, as a D lineman, you kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, like, yeah, let's go. But yeah, like I don't think I've ever had a head coach that was like in the trenches. Well, I guess my head coach in high school was an O lineman, but I don't think I've ever had like a D lineman head coach before, or even I don't remember the last time I heard of a D lineman head coach.
Yeah, I can't think of that either.
Usually they're like a quarterback. Like they used to be like a quarterback, or like something a little bit different.
Maybe a linebacker.
Yeah, a little like a commander, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can tell that he's worked a lot as a coach. Like he has about 17 years coaching experience, and you could tell that he's put everything into being just a better coach, like every single day. I think that's huge. I feel like when you have coaches that are just like, this is who I am, and all right, everybody deal with it. Like, I'm not going to work to change too much. Like, kind of get in some dirty waters. Like, I feel like for him, he's like, no, I've got what I got, but I'm going to work to get better for you every single day. Like, you get better for me, I'm going to get better for you, and that's huge.
Yeah. Geez, I'm a little worried here. I'm a little worried on the connection. We might just be going through the mic, going through the computer mic. We're having all kind of troubles. Where I was going to go with that. A little confused now, but we're going to keep running. The big guys up front, O-line and D-line, a lot of times they don't get any love or respect, and that's where the game's won and lost, right, on both sides of the ball. And also, the linemen always seem like they're the most thoughtful and like a lot of times the smartest guys on the team.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Man, well, I will say they're the most thoughtful and handsome people on the team as well, for sure. O lineman, D lineman got that.
Hot take.
Yeah, nah, man, like, no, you can tell Nemo I said it too. Yeah, O lineman, prettiest boys on the team. But yeah, man, like you don't have anything really if your quarterback can't throw the ball and your O line can't protect, and you don't have anything if the offense can just run the ball on you because your defensive line doesn't stop on the run. Like, football is definitely won in game in that, won and lost in those types of situations, and also like it's like that at every single level. Like the receivers and the DBs and those skill athletes, like, you know, they're a little bit more similar. You know, as you get to the cream of the crop, like obviously those boys set each other different, but like when you get to like the D2 down to like D3 NAIA, like isn't a ton of difference there. But the big difference is the O-line, D-line play. Like those boys can rock. Like when you have a really, really good O-line, you got a really, really good team. When you got a really, really good D-line that can wreak havoc, like not only stop the run, but stop the play, like stop the pass, stop things before they can even happen. Like you are setting yourself up for success. Like you stop the run and them boys got to pass and then they can't even get a pass off. Like it's looking bad. Or if like you got a good run stopping D line, but you also got a good coverage DBs and that can get interceptions and bat balls away. Like that's huge. So I think like it's some of the most important things in the game. Like, and a lot of people don't understand that. It's not the most flashy, but I feel like it's getting emphasized more within football, even more than it has been. And it's like you have these trench specimens that are just like on a different level. Like when you got like Trent Williams on the 49ers, or like, you know, that's the boy. Fans. Oh, we're 49ers fan here.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. Come on, we're the boys now.
Yeah, I knew we liked you.
Bang bang Niner gang. Or like a Quentin Nelson. Like those O linemen are just like on a different level that could compete in any era. Where you got like defensive linemen, like, you know, like again, the boy Nick Bosa or Michael Parsons or even like a Dexter Lawrence. Like those boys are just so disruptive to the game, and it's no wonder why their defenses are so good and their teams are like so successful. Like you kind of have to look at it. Like if you look at any successful team, you can kind of tell like the trenches are never going to be bad. Like my old head coach, even though he was an O-line guy, used to say like, I've never seen a game won where the O-line did bad. Never seen that. Like you won't see that. If the O-line's not producing, like you're just not going to do well. Yeah. And I think you know, it's very cool when people like pay attention to that and give acknowledgement to that as well. Like, you know, it's not pretty. You're not going to get the glory, but I think, you know, trench guys, that's not what they care about. They just want to help. You know, they just want to do the best they can.
Yeah, just win.
And just win, man. Like you just got to do what it takes to win. You got to be very unselfish to play those positions as well. If you're a me guy, you're not gonna make it. You know, if you're a me guy, you can kind of get away with it a little bit on the defensive line. But if you're an O-line guy, me guys just don't cut it ever. Like it's just not gonna work like that.
Yeah, I like you bringing up that we thing. My high school coach, we did like a we chant every time we'd get together and break, and he was a phenomenal coach. We always like kind of made fun of it, you know, thought it was really cheesy. And then I get older and I'm like, that's one of the most important things I ever had in my life. Like, you know, like as a human being, just having a coach who stressed that. And it kind of went across the board. We had good high school coaches in our sports, all our sports, and it's so important. So I wanted to hit on that, but then coming back to the Niners and the line play, you know, we hear about all their stars, which we got studs in the backfield and outside and inside and all over the place, but it's our line on both sides that makes us so good. Right,
man. And you look at all these teams, right? Like they have, every team, like you look at it, like the people who are competing against each other, like are always going to be like some of the best. So like you look at the 49ers, they got Trent Williams, and they also have Nick Bosa, who are going to go against each other every day. You look at the Eagles, they got Jason Kelsey, and they got Fletcher Cox, who are going against each other every single day. You look at the Cowboys, like they got Michael Parsons and Tyron Smith that are going against each other every single day. Like, and it's like that stuff can make you better too. Like the competition between it is insane. Like competition in general is insane. It's going to make you better. But like, yeah, man, like you got a good thing going if you got those people competing, like, and can really win a lot of games on both sides.
Yeah, that's what Fred Warner talked about with Purdy when Purdy first got in there and they asked him about him, and he's like, well, he's been going against the best defense in the league for like 9 weeks now or whatever it was. And so he's like, we have confidence in him because we see what he can do every day in practice. And that's so true. And you see those good teams, all the teams that you're mentioning, like got better throughout the year. Those guys facing off in practice every day and getting after it. And those are the teams that are still standing right now.
How about Brock Purdy, bro? He's
wow.
Like, I know we're some 49ers fans, but like even if we weren't, like, that's so impressive. Like, as a rookie, like, I'm thinking about like myself, like, he's my age. Like, if I was just me, like, trying to be an NFL quarterback,
wow,
like,
yeah,
I don't know how poised that would be, bro. Like, he just is cool, calm, and collected the whole time, like, and hasn't lost yet. Like, that's extremely impressive. Not only has he not lost, like, he's led that NFL in like 4 categories, like, for quarterbacks, which is pretty insane too.
He has since he came on.
Yeah, since he came on, like, I think he's got like some of the best like QBR, completion percentage. Like, he's like that.
Yeah, because I consider myself a pretty big Niners fan, but I didn't even I knew he was on the roster, but I didn't know anything about him.
Right.
And then when Jimmy broke his ankle, it's kind of like really depressing. And then he came in that game and he's just throwing dimes and getting out of pressure. And I had a couple people text me who are Niner haters and like, oh, season's over. Are you going to be picking up
Baker Mayfield?
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we found our best quarterback. We just got better. I was really excited about it. And he keeps going. So we'll see about this weekend.
The only way I heard about him was because he played against Oregon his senior year in a bowl game when he was at Iowa State. And he torched them.
Really?
Yeah, just like picked them apart, like did whatever he wanted. So I knew he could play, but obviously it doesn't always translate from college to the NFL.
Right.
But yeah, like you're saying, it's just crazy to see how the literal last pick in the draft, the guy they call Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like literally like the worst nickname ever.
The worst nickname ever of all nicknames.
And he's like leading the best franchise in the history of sports.
Right.
Hopefully to the Super Bowl.
Bro. So what do you guys think? You think that, like, with Jimmy G coming back, or you think that we make it to the Super Bowl, like the 49ers are finna keep Brock, or you think they're finna put Jimmy G in there?
I don't know how they don't
better
keep Brock.
Yeah, like, you got to keep Brock. That's what I've been saying too. I don't even know why, like, because I see it with, like, all these sports networks. They're like thinking that's up for debate. Bro, like, how are you even, first of all, with like the team chemistry, how you even switch that up?
Right.
Like, everyone's been rocking with Brock the whole time.
Yeah.
And then, like, switch that up then? Like,
well, and I talk to people about this all the time. Like, they look strictly at the record of Jimmy G, and they don't actually watch every game like I do.
Right.
Like, they just see, oh, he has this record as a starter. But I'm like, yeah, but we could also have an even better record if he makes some more timely throws, some off-scheduled throws. You know what I mean? Like, Brock hasn't even lost yet. And if we had Jimmy G, I don't want to say we would have lost, like, because our team as a whole is so good. Like, he probably could carry Jimmy G like he has his whole career in San Francisco. But I just think that there's a new element now with Purdy that we haven't had.
Right.
And I mean, I'm all in on him. Like, I'm ready to trade Trey Lance and trade Garoppolo, get some draft picks back, and ride with him.
Bro, I mean, I think that's 100% a good take. Like, because you just see some of these throws he's making, and like some of these plays he's making that, like, Jimmy G's not doing that. Like, just mobile, like, wise, like, he can really just improvise and like get shifty.
Yeah.
And like, I don't see Jimmy G getting shifty like that. Like,
I mean, all the quarterbacks who are left, Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, like, obviously Hurts is far and away the most athletic, but
for sure,
Mahomes and Burrow are both like sneaky athletic.
Sneaky.
And that's sort of the feeling I get watching Purdy. Is like, he's not fast by any means. Like, if he ran a 40-yard dash, he'd be probably terrible. But he's just like sneaky and shifty and deceptive enough to where it's a huge asset to the offense.
You see the play he made in the Seahawks game, or like where the throw to the end zone that was incomplete, but it was still insane, where he broke like 3 or 4 tackles, went from one side of the field to the very end of the field and threw just on a rope to the edge of the end zone. And like Brandon Ayuk dropped it, but that thing was in his hands. Like,
it was still impressive.
Great
impressive. Throw. It's like, that's very Mahomes-esque. Like, And it's like and it's also impressive that Patty Mahomes is that good that's like the standard for like improvising quarterbacks. It's like that's Mahomes-esque, but like that's very impressive.
Well, and that's why I think it's important, at least for quarterbacks, to have like all that game experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brock Purdy had, I don't remember the exact number, but he has like such a crazy more amount of snaps, throws, games played than Trey Lance did, who was the third pick compared to the 200 whatever pick Brock was. Like he played so many more games. He was like a 4-year starter at Iowa State.
Right.
You know, like played in big games in the Big 12, as opposed to Trey Lance, who was at North Dakota State, which is still a really good program in their own right. But he only had like a year and then like a COVID shortened season or something, and like way less throws and against way less competition. So it was just like I was confused by the pick at first, and we gave up so much to get him. Like I think that was frustrating, especially because we could have got Justin Fields, who seems like he's going to be pretty good. But you know, to get a guy the last pick of the draft play like this is impressive.
Yeah. No, that game against Oklahoma, Iowa State versus Oklahoma, Brock Purdy versus Jalen Hurts was a crazy game. Yeah. And I didn't even realize until like 3 days ago that was Brock Purdy in that game. Yeah. Like, I remember watching like the Iowa State game. Oh, it was like 41-42. And them boys were just going back and forth. And then was it in overtime or was it just the last play of the game where they went for 2? Iowa State went for 2 and like didn't complete the pass. And that's how the game ended.
Oh, that
so
was
like they were really just like there with them the entire time. It was like, whew. Like in some of the plays he was making in that game, like I just went back and watched the highlights from it, and I was like, oh yeah, nah, Brock Purdy's had it this whole time. Like he's had it this whole time. There was no question about it.
Like if you watch his bowl game against Oregon, like I was like, oh my gosh, like how is this guy not like in the Heisman conversation? And then just because I rewatched like only the 49ers draft picks. I sometimes watch like the first round of the draft, but I usually just like to watch like who the 49ers pick.
Right.
And then when I saw we got him, I was like, oh, you know, he'll be a nice like practice squad guy. Maybe he can develop. You never know. And then just to see how he is now, it's like it's insane, really.
Right.
It's unheard of.
Well, as soon as he stepped in, we started getting the ball downfield. Like George Kittle started catching the ball, and Debo's getting the ball downfield, and it was just like a completely different offense. Yeah. Jimmy gets it out quick and makes good decisions. I don't think he's horrible. I was starting to get on his bandwagon just because we were having success. But Brock came in. It was like, wow, now our weapons are really getting the ball where they need the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
And made a big difference.
Well, and those quarterbacks who have no mobility, like Jimmy G, Kirk Cousins, you know, some of those guys, they're dinosaurs now. Like they just don't do well anymore.
Anytime Jimmy got pressure, it was scary. It was like, I just hope this isn't a turnover. Yeah. Hopefully we can get a punt off.
Or he just like nervously throws the ball into like a tight window that's not there. And then Brock can at least get outside and be able to throw it out. You know what I mean?
If Brock came last year, I think we beat the Rams.
Ooh.
I think so too.
What do you think?
I think so too.
Because we were controlling that game early, and then they started to put pressure on us, and Jimmy had his turnovers.
And not even like because last season as well, like we have a lot of weapons now, but the weapons were hot last season. Like Debo was hot last season. Like he's warming up a little bit now, but he was hot last season. George Kittle was hot. So like you get them boys going when they're hot, and Trent Williams was just as good. Like, yeah, you're cooking with some. I think they beat the Rams too. Yeah, and especially in that game, like, yeah, that was tough. He made some very interesting throws in that game.
He made some,
very questionable decisions.
So do you agree with Aden? Do we trade Trey Lance this offseason, or do we keep him around? What do we do?
I think so. You could keep him around and trade Jimmy G, but like I don't know how much that would work. I'm not too invested in like the contracts or whatnot, what they got going on, but I think trade somebody, trade one of those two or both of them if you want to bank on them like that. But like I think it's important.
I just think that he'll play so much. Not that he isn't free. Like he's playing free right now. Like he's playing with house money. He doesn't have anything to lose.
Right.
He's Mr. Irrelevant. No pressure. But like if you really, as a franchise, invest in him and you trade away the third pick, like I think that's really like assuring for him.
Right.
And I just think that Trey Lance's value is only going to go down from here on out, especially if Purdy does end up taking us to the Super Bowl. Like I think we have to rock with him.
You have to.
It'd be stupid to just blindly give it to a guy who hasn't proven jack.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just think the highest value that Trey Lance is going to have as a 49er is going to be, now. So we should try to get the most value for him.
100%. Yeah.
So what do you think about Sunday against the Eagles?
I think
Eagles are good.
They're good. They're a good team. I think it's going to be a good game. Like, I think the 49ers will show up.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Eagles, them boys show up too. So, like, it's going to be definitely an interesting one. I think the defensive matchup between, like, Jalen Hurts and his mobility, as well as them being able to run the ball and air it out, is going to be important. And I think just the offense that Shanahan runs, of just how, like, everything is schemed. Everyone is schemed for things. There's not one person who's super good. It's not just one person who's making it happen. Like, there's a lot of misdirection, a lot of motion, a lot of that can beat a lot of good teams just because you have to beat everybody. Like, I feel like with the Eagles, like, if you can just shut down the run game and contain Jalen Hurts, like, it's a little bit harder. Whereas for the 49ers, you can't just shut down one thing. Like, you have to play insane defense on them to stop them from doing anything.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting. I think it'll be close. I'll put the I don't think it's going to be anything bigger than like a 14-point spread for sure. Like, I don't think anyone's getting out like above 2 touchdowns from each other. Like, I think it's going to be a close game.
I think the spread right now is like 2.5.
Oh, then there you go.
Yeah, 14 would be insane. I think that would be shocking.
I think it's going to be a really intense game. I believe in the 49ers. I think they're the best team. Who knows what's going to happen because it gets crazy when it gets to this point. But I have faith in them.
I do.
I think we're going to get a dub.
Yeah, I'm tired of these NFC Championship losses, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. I'm trying to just get in there and just not win anything. I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to see them boys win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I forget when we talk about this because Aiden's a big Niners fan. I'm older, so I'm the only one who really lived through the glory. I gotta celebrate all those Super Bowls. Aiden, because we were talking about Dion the other day, and it's like he was so young, he didn't really get to fully appreciate when Dion was playing for the Niners. Because that was one of my favorite years. Was that year because Jerry was like in his prime. Jerry was always my favorite, and Steve Young was money, and we just had all the guys. I mean, it was an awesome team, and Dion was so good, and I love Dion.
Yeah.
So point being, we need to get a Super Bowl.
Yes.
So we can all celebrate. All the age groups can celebrate together.
Exactly, man.
I'm
like
that.
I'm trying to talk a little smack. I'm trying to really be there. Like, you'd be like, oh yeah, what now? Like, I'm trying to hit a little what now when I get back to the weight room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different Seattle and Cowboys fans in there that are just chomping at the bit to see us lose. Like, I want to see. I need to see a win. I'm tired of it.
And I really think it's the best 4 teams. Like, I think the AFC got the top 2 teams too because the Bills were so beat up late in the season. I think that the Bengals and the Chiefs are the 2 best. So it'll be a fun 2 games this weekend.
Man, Josh Allen disappointed me. I'm not gonna lie, because like probably like last week, me and Marve got in a huge, long-winded debate on who was better, Josh Allen or Cam Newton. Now I know I was on Josh Allen. I was on Josh Allen's side. I was like, he's gonna have to prove it to me to make it to a bowl. But I'm like, I like Josh Allen a lot over Cam Newton. I think I might have to change my opinion. I was like, you got to get there. Like,
you passed him
yet. Yeah, you got to get to the Super Bowl. Like, you got to get in that place. Like, and I don't know, like that performance just didn't do it for me. I think he's very, very, very good, but I don't know. He might not be beating Cam's prime.
Yeah, peak Cam Newton was pretty tough.
Insane.
It's like as a runner and throwing darts, like he was. He didn't have nearly the talent around him.
That was the big argument. That was the big thing.
Like if he had Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, a running game, a good coach, you know what I mean? Like I think that who knows what could have happened. It's easy to hypothesize over everything, but
everyone remembers Cam when he was all beat up at the end of his career. They forget how good he was when he was at his peak.
Right.
But I think that the elbow injury really slowed Josh Allen down too. But he runs and he puts his head down, so I could see him have a shortened career too, just like Cam did, just because he takes so many big shots and runs so much.
Yeah, my biggest thing for it was like Josh Allen's been in like the top 3, top 4 for a number of years, whereas Cam Newton was like number 1 for 1 year, was like top 5 for like 2 others, but other than that, it was just like down. Now he's had a lot of things, car crash and whatnot that really affected that. But I was like, like Josh Allen's there, like he's consistent. But at this point, I'm like, you know what, I might just have to throw in the towel. Like Cam Newton might have it.
Yeah.
He's bro. Yeah, no,
That's
he's
a big concession.
Yeah, there's a big concession. Like I'm putting it on air for Marvin to see. But yeah,
Wayne just has a career like Cam's college career, like winning a natty at Florida and then at Auburn, like
that was huge. That season was insane.
The Auburn,
the Auburn season. I was like, because I lived in Arizona at the time when they played in Arizona, in the national championship, and I'm like an Oregon fan.
Yeah.
So that was just like, but I was a huge Cam Newton fan as well. Like I loved Cam Newton.
Yeah, he bullied Oregon that game.
Bullied. Like it was just smacking him the whole time. It was so disappointing to watch. But
him and Nick Farley destroyed the game.
And them boys just hooping.
Farley was a beast too.
Yeah, I loved like that. Almost made me like an Auburn fan. Like I just like really liked Auburn because I had never even heard of Auburn until that point for some reason. I was also like 8, but like at that point I was just like, man, like these boys are cool. Like I like it a lot, and yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I jumped on their bandwagon a little bit after that.
Yeah,
too.
You got to a little bit.
Good colors and just good fan base and all that stuff.
Yeah, Florida was wild when Cam Newton was there. And like Tim Tebow and all them boys, Aaron Hernandez. Oh my goodness. I know the hype has been they need a documentary, but they really do need a documentary. Like they need something.
I think isn't there a 30 for 30 coming out on them?
I think so, yeah.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think they had some crazy amount of people go to jail from that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't obviously Aaron Hernandez was the headliner, but like they had like an inordinate amount of people like get in trouble. Like I know Percy Harvin was on that team.
Yeah.
He got in trouble too. Like,
bro,
it's just crazy that Urban Meyer was their head coach again.
Right. He's gotten in trouble too.
Yeah, he's not a good guy.
Yeah, he's putting his hands where they should not have been. Like that that was crazy.
Like what he did at Ohio State and then Jacksonville getting fired in less than a year. Like that's pretty hard to do in the NFL. Less than a year.
Yeah. I have a feeling that Ohio State incident wasn't his first one. That was probably just the most public one.
No, and like keeping that one coach around who like got a domestic violence charge too. Like trying to sweep it under the rug. Like it's not a good look.
I mean, think about how many phone calls he was getting at Florida. Like all those, hey coach, like I'm in county, like,
right.
like like he had to deal with that so much. Like I don't know, sometimes when you're around that so much, you kind of fall into it yourself. Of just like, because all those guys, like when they're winning national championships and like they're, they feel like they're these godly figures. They feel like they can do anything. At some point, that's got to rub off on him, and he's got to feel like I can do anything.
Oh yeah,
not the way to feel, but still, like,
yeah,
I mean, geez, bro.
Some of these college football towns and programs, like it literally rules the town. Like they have so much power and influence with politicians or university presidents. Like there's just so much money involved in it.
Yeah.
Where like it's such an investment where they don't want to screw it up or have anything blemish that image that could impact donors or things of that nature. So
100%. Like them boys, like
it's a dirty game.
Some of those people don't even have to pay for anything in those towns. Like they walk into any restaurant and they're like, "Oh, are you so and so? Oh, man, you can eat here free." Or you walk into places like, "Oh, you can have those clothes for free." Like whatever. And it's like you got all those people doing that to you. You go into somewhere where you assume it's free and it's not free. Now you're stealing. Like like that's.
Well, I don't think also people don't understand that college football is so important for just athletic programs in general. Like it generates money for like 90% of the rest of the teams, like the men's, women's basketball,
swimming,
like
and cross country,
all those smaller sports, who don't generate anything by themselves. Like it's just so important in so many levels,
Yeah.
Well, the way they were portrayed too was like Tim Tebow were the perfect Christian team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way at the time it was like, this is God's team. This is America's team. We're doing everything right. And now you get this perspective. It's crazy to think about. It makes me wonder hopefully that documentary comes out and gives us an inside look, because I wonder what it was really like, because Tebow had to know what was going on, right? Like, you got to know what your teammates are doing and what's actually going on. I want to see. Hopefully that comes out soon.
Yeah, he probably had to be stressed. He's trying to lead these boys in prayer, and they're out here like doing all this crazy stuff.
They all got
like
their hands behind their back. Like,
yeah, bro. Like they're like, Tim, I sinned today. They probably had team team confession in the locker room with him. Like, it was all bad. He's like, man, I'm trying to lead a good program. He's like, yeah, sorry, bro. Like, we got you on the field. Like,
right.
Yeah. But I heard like. He used to be like the poster boy for like, you can be wholesome and be good at football too. Like, like our coach, I remember our coach used him. Yeah, like the tug of war story. Like, you ever hear like the Tim Tebow tug of war story? But like
it's not ringing a bell. Hit me with
he refused to lose in tug of war against his teammates so bad that like he pulled him into like, they had like an indoor facility and had a bathroom, from like the other end zone to like the bathroom. Like, he kept pulling the rope and pulling the rope and pulling the rope till like they were in the bathroom. Like, it was crazy. I was like, bro, like what? Like, what? This is insane. They're like, yeah, well, that's Tim Tebow football. Like, I was like,
didn't Tim Tebow's old like high school coach used to be the coach at SAU?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we won the last championship.
Yeah, Coach Howard.
Howard, that's right.
Yeah, at Nice. Yeah, he was a high school football coach in Nice.
Crazy.
Yeah, I guess like, yeah. They know they were when they won the national championship. I'm pretty sure Tim Tebow was there.
Was he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was at the game.
It was in Florida, wasn't it? The game. Yeah.
Yeah, Daytona. Yeah, it was in Daytona. I'm pretty sure he was there and he was able to see it. I'm not sure where Nice is, but
I don't either.
I feel like it's close to there. But
isn't it like some sort of prep school or something, or is it just a regular high school?
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, might have made that up. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Tim Tebow was going to be our next head coach for some reason.
Really? Because of that?
Yeah, they're like, because I
like
think
this right here when Burke coached.
Yeah, they're like, oh, like maybe Tim Tebow might come and apply for the job. We're like, bro, like no, like
that dude makes bank as an analyst.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to coach our NIA football program.
Yeah,
that'd be dope though. I don't know. We'll see how he is as a coach. Does he still play baseball or no?
I think he's just an analyst now.
Yeah, just an analyst.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed, but I haven't heard anything about him recently.
Yeah, he's looking big. Like I saw like something where he was giving like a motivational speech or something. Was looking thick. Like his arms were just looking like some milk jugs.
So he's still lifting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
he's probably
or he's still juicing.
Yeah, a little something.
Yeah,
he's got a little something in him, a little testosterone, a little, like a little T. You get into that age, like a little
How
something.
old is Tebow?
I don't know. I think he's like mid-30s probably.
That sounds about right.
He's a little older.
Yeah.
What year was that? The Florida.
2000.
Like when did Hernandez? What year?
When they won the national championship?
Yeah, or
like 2010.
Yeah,
that was like 2009 to 2012. With that whole year,
he
that
was
whole
a few
thing.
years older than me.
Yeah, so he must be
mid-30s,
early mid-30s. Yeah, 33,
yeah.
34.
I remember that because of NCAA 11, he was on the cover. That was my favorite NCAA.
Yeah.
So it had to be like 2010 that they did.
So I think he won the Heisman the year the world was supposed to end, 2012.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I think.
Where were y'all like when in 2012 when the world was supposed to end?
2012,
senior year of high school.
Were you guys like invested in that? Were you like, oh, like was everyone like looking at each other like today's the day? Like,
I was not scared. I was here.
Oh, really?
I was assistant coach here basketball. Yeah. I can't remember specifically exactly where I was.
What day in December was it?
It was the 21st, I think. 12/21, is that right?
Something. I remember we were in school. Like I remember being in class. Like I don't think break had. It was break yet.
Was it? Yeah.
I think I got.
Was it November? December? I can't.
Think it was definitely December. I want to say I got really, really messed up that day.
Yeah,
I was like, screw it. Like if it's world ends, I'm
might
going.
as well be drunk.
Like I was like, like I was a senior in high school. Like it's like screw it. So that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting the timelines. I think I was in Illinois.
Oh, really?
I think I was in Illinois.
December 12.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was in Illinois.
Yeah, like
the world was supposed to end like 10 times.
For real, because wasn't Y2K a thing too? Or like like all of the electronics supposed to shut down and whatnot? Like,
I remember that too. That was crazy.
Y2K, I was more nervous for. That was my senior year of high school. And I wasn't really nervous, but I was like, it was the first one that was like really built up by the media when
Mhm.
I was like in my formative years, or
Yeah,
where I
I was
really
like
knew what was
8 years
going
old.
on.
I was like,
You're
whoa.
kicking it. You're cool. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no TV? What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. I was like, wait, what? This is it? Like,
Nothing
I'm
happened.
Only 8 years alive.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
I remember in 2012, I was in like 6th grade. I remember just like going to my classroom and everyone's like, the world's supposed to end today, you know? Like, and my teacher was like, calm down, like, it might not. Like she didn't know either. Like she was trying to
It
calm us
might
down.
not.
And we're just a bunch of like 11-year-old 6th graders, like, bro, we are going to die today. Like, and like she's trying to get us to do assignments and stuff. We're like, nah, like I'm not doing this. Like, you're gonna have me do assignments on my last day on this earth. Like, no. Like,
Well, and I mean, there was like
You're
a
still
movie.
in class.
There was a
Yeah.
movie made about it,
Right.
2012. Like, I was like, do they know something we don't?
Bro,
Like,
and that movie looked intense, like a full world tsunami. Like,
yeah,
and
like
they had
come
like
on.
just a monk just
right,
standing
yeah.
there. Like, yeah, man. Like, I remember seeing I never watched the actual movie, but I like watched the commercials, and like that's what my thought of like I was like, oh, like if the world ends and it ends like this, that's crazy. Like, that's really, really scary.
Yeah, like that would be.
The next day was interesting though, because you got to think like there's probably some people who said some pretty crazy things thinking it was their last day on Earth,
Oh yeah.
and then they got to deal with that the next day. That's pretty funny.
Well, and for me, I don't know if this was like this for anybody else, but like I was like, oh, what if the calendar's off by one day? What if it's today? What if it's 2 days? You know, like for like a whole week, I was on edge. I was like, what if it's barely off, but they're still true? It's gonna end.
Yeah, no, they like miswrote it. They're like, oh, I actually meant the 12th.
Or the 21st or
Happened
the
in a-
28th or like something. So I was
Yeah.
like on edge after that, and then as soon as it
wasn't
went
too
into the
scary.
new year, I was like, probably good.
Man, that is so scary. That's like Don't Look Up. You guys watch Don't Look
Oh,
Up?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
watched that.
that was like the same thing, but it actually happened. Like the world actually did end.
Yeah.
That was pretty tough. That was a very eye-opening movie.
I've been I've been getting into a lot of like comets hitting the earth and resets on the earth and the
Mhm.
Younger Dryas impact theory and all these
Oh,
things.
whoa.
Do you follow much of that stuff?
Not too much, but I'm very interested. Go ahead, elaborate
Yeah.
if you know.
Well, I don't want to get too far out there, but basically the Younger Dryas impact theory is that 11,600 years ago,
Mhm.
the Earth was hit by meteors,
Mhm.
a big meteor shower that we went through, asteroid belt, and there was a big reset of life on Earth. And there's a lot of it's tied into the Great Flood.
Mhm.
The Great Flood is in not I won't say every, but it's in most ancient mythologies and traditions and religions that there was a great flood.
Whoa.
And the Younger Dryas impact theory is that whatever meteorites, asteroids hit the earth, and it melted glaciers, and that there was a great flood, and that it wiped out a lot of the people on Earth. And there's a really good documentary on Netflix right now called Ancient Apocalypse, I think, by
Okay.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah, Graham Hancock.
You know
okay.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about this stuff, but he goes through like 5 or 6, 7 different ancient civilizations that had underground cities that they had built, and they all kind of like coordinate with. They have a lot of their structures they built like lined up with different things in the stars in the environment, like equinoxes, and they all seem to measure when we were going through the asteroid belt. Like there's a couple times during the year when Earth goes through the asteroid belt the most, and that a lot of these different civilizations built these huge structures and had underground living to where they could they had water underground. They had like vents built that would go to the the air, so they could get air.
Mhm.
They could grow crops underground. They could grow.
Whoa.
Had room for animals underground. And there's no real good archaeological explanation for why these underground things were so extensive. And so the Graham Hancock theory and some other people now theorize that ancient civilizations knew when we went that it happens. You know, the Earth goes through this asteroid belt at different times, and it's been hit. We know, or it's assumed that it killed off the dinosaurs. You know, that's like
Right.
the accepted theory,
Mhm.
and it only makes sense that we get hit. The Earth has been hit multiple times, and that because I was about to ask you who built the pyramids, because he talks a lot about pyramids and ancient structures, and I mean, I haven't done any of this research for myself. I just hear people talk about it and watch documentaries. But it just seems like there were some ancient civilizations that had some technologies that we're not currently capable of doing. Like the pyramid at Giza or whatever has like 2,500,000 stones. You've probably heard all this. Stone blocks that are you can't, like, when they, some of them are eroded and stuff like that, but
perfect.
at their prime, you couldn't even get a razor blade in between the stones. Like, they were so perfectly built. And the accepted theory, if you read a history book, is that like slaves from the period like drug these stones 500 miles and built these pyramids. And it's like that. It really doesn't make any sense that that's what happened.
Because even if you could get these slaves to do that labor, the math, like, and this the like intelligence it takes to like perfectly craft that and make it hollow on the inside as well is like insane. I don't know. I would like to think it was aliens. Like I feel like that's also like the foil hat theory. But I think, like if it wasn't aliens or like there wasn't like some sort of like extraterrestrial intelligence put on top of us, I feel like, there had to be just some technology that we just have not discovered yet.
Right.
And like, I don't know, maybe the Earth and whatnot goes in cycles of like these civilizations, develop technology that eventually kills them, and then they start over again.
Yeah.
And so like maybe that's just a product of one of the technologies that they had.
Yeah.
Did it, and now we have no proof of the technology because the civilizations wiped each other out, and now it's like, now we're here, and now we're developing it in technology again. Like, so we're coming soon.
Because also, like, I forget all the stats, but like originally they said that humans were like anatomically modern humans, so basically walking upright and look like we look for the most part. Originally they said it was like 50,000 years is when humans came out of Africa or whatever, and now it gets pushed back all the time, and now supposedly there's been anatomical humans for 300,000 years. That's the most recent one I've heard. Whoa. So if we've had anatomical humans for 3,000 years, like, just think about, we say humans have been around for like 2,000, 2,500, like right around the time of the Bible, right? So if we've gotten this far in 2,000 years from where we were sitting around fires and like killing animals with spears to now to where we're doing a podcast and we're live, we're not live streaming it, but we could live stream it, and we have phones that could look up anything on the internet. Right. To get there in 2,000 years, like if we've been around for 300,000 years, what's to think that previously they hadn't got way farther than we got and then got wiped out.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Like that, there's no way that it took us this long. Like if we've been around for like 300,000 years, there's no way it took us this long to make phones.
Yeah.
We did this and like we got this far in like 40 years.
Yeah.
Like think about how 40 years ago, like how much different things were. Like, I mean, I wasn't alive, but
there was movies. No cell phones.
Yeah. Like there's no cell phones. Like every car was manual. Like there wasn't like electric vehicles. Like it's, it's a very, very different life. So then you go back thousands of years, and there's no telling to like what it could have been.
Right.
You guys ever watch was it Death, Love, and Robots on Netflix?
I did with a few of them.
Yeah, there was this like,
wait, what's it called?
Death, Love, and Robots.
Deaf 11?
No,
Love.
Death. Yeah, Death,
Love, and
Robots.
Sorry,
I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. That's
Death,
what it's
Love,
called,
and
right?
Robots.
Yeah.
Death, Love, and Robots. It's kind of like
I'm about to.
like a Black Mirror type of thing.
It's like a bunch of short stories.
Yeah, they're way short. They're like 11 minutes, like long episodes. But one of the episodes was there's like this couple in an apartment, and they have like this freezer, and they open it up, and it's like a window to like a little civilization. So like the first time they open it up, it's like these cavemen and cavewomen that are just kind of like hitting sticks and trying to make fire and whatnot. Like, that's weird. So they close it. And then like they open it again like 5 minutes later. And now it's like people who, I don't know. It's like it developing in as a civilization. It's like people building structures and whatnot. They close it again. Now it's people driving cars in the city. It's like the 80s, and they close it again. And it's like technology develops and develops and develops. And like eventually they open it, and it's like they're watching this like civilization that has like flying cars and all these different like crazy technologies that we haven't even seen before. And it gets like crazier and crazier. There's no people, now there's robots, and like eventually like it just turns into like this big mass of like electricity and technology that
Oh,
eventually implodes itself. And then they like get scared and they close it, unplug it, they open it again. Now it's back to the caveman. And I was like, oh,
whoa.
like that's pretty insane. Like I know it's just like a Netflix like short story, but I was like, with all of like the research that has come out and all these different people talking about like the evolution of civilizations, like there's no telling why that couldn't be like a real thing.
Yeah.
Like
We come back to one, we unite back to one ball of energy, and then we get split up again.
Like that's pretty crazy. Like I feel like as humans, we try to figure out ways we can do less and less stuff like as time goes on. Just make things easier and easier and easier to a point where we just become obsolete. Like, and then we got just robots doing things, or like AI. Like we don't even have to have like physical robots. Like if you just have AI, like I don't know, man. Like,
have you messed around with the Chat GPT at all?
No. Is it like I've kind of seen? I only watched a clip where there's a guy talking to it, right, from like a school, or like talking to an AI they developed, and it seemed to have like,
I haven't seen the clip, but probably
it seemed to have its own like emotions and thoughts and like, you know, like a perspective on life, and then that was pretty cool.
That is.
But I'm not too familiar with like chat. You say Chat EBT?
GPT, Chat GPT. Like, so if you search Chat GPT, you can get on the website. I signed up, created an account, but it's not too extensive, but basically it just has been tracking. It's been tracking everything on the internet, all the typed text for like, I don't know, I forget how long it is, like 20 years or something. It ends like at 2020 or something like that. So you can ask it anything like in that time period, and it will produce something. It produces it in like a few seconds. So if you're like, you know, write a song, write a song in Tupac's voice about like, God, I don't know, about African animals or something, like it'll produce like a song that sounds like something Tupac would say, and it'll be like about animal, like African. It's really weird. And it does it really fast, and it's apparently it's still in beta or whatever, so you can use it still like in the test phase. Supposedly they're going to get to the point where it has all the data in the history of the internet basically, and live action, so like what people are actually doing currently. So it takes in all this data, and it just produces answers based on all the data that it can draw from.
Yo, that is dangerous. That is so dangerous. Like, imagine if you could manipulate so many different things with that. Like you could get people to supposedly say crazy stuff that'll like get them hurt or like get them canceled or whatnot. Like, like with like politicians or like people in power, like you could be like, oh, like what did so and so say about black people, or like you just just a hot topic. Like that's crazy. How smart do you got to be to develop some stuff like that?
That's what I don't understand. Yeah,
like that is crazy.
I remember smarter than me.
Yeah, like way smarter than me, man. Like I remember being like a kid and seeing people like develop things like MIT or whatnot, and they're like, oh, some students at so and so made this groundbreaking discovery, and I'm like, oh wow, like that they're older, like that's crazy. Now I'm like, I could not imagine myself making some sort of groundbreaking discovery about robots, or cell phones, or like anything. Like like I'm not thinking outside the box. I'm trying to think very well in the box. Like it's pretty interesting how people do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going on right now, and it just keeps accelerating the evolution. You said you had class at 1:30, right? Yeah, we got to get you out of here. We've been rolling for a while. This is one of our longest ones.
Okay, my bad. It's interesting.
No, it's great. No, it's great. I love it. I love it. I wish like I could ask you 100 more questions. So might have to get you on again, because I would love to talk about more stuff. But thank you for coming on. It's 1:21, so we got to get you to class.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you guys.
A lot of great thoughts. Shout out to our sponsor, Northwest Pizza and Pasta.
Morgan,
taking care of us. A gift card for you.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
Courtesy of Morgan and all them up there making pizza, pasta, wings. The fries, the box of fries, $5 is going to feed you for a week. I mean, that box is big.
That box is insane.
Right?
Their portion sizes with the fries are astronomical.
Good ranch, too.
Ranch is fire.
I went up there after our game last weekend. Forget what day it was. Morgan poured me a free beer because our food wasn't ready yet. I went in early and gave me a free beer and dropped some wisdom, and it's great. So shout out to them, and thank you. And Tay, thank you. Aden, we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
We're out.
All right, boys.
Later.
Thank you.